Hi everyone, today we're gonna talk about Heightfields, and we're gonna see the most common techniques and nodes that you can use to start making terrains. Let's dive in. Alright, we're gonna start with a Heightfield, and basically what this is just a volume, like a very basic volume made of voxel, and the grid spacing is defining the resolution of this volume. So right now we have 1000 by 1000 voxel. And we're gonna start shaping it using a Heightfield noise, which is the most basic way to start something, really. So just dropping that and you already get something like kinda decent. We are using a noise type that's like sparse convolution, and we can define the amplitude and element size. So far it's just a basic noise. We have this center noise, which basically centers the noise around the middle value, defining whether if it's 0 or 0.5. And yeah, actually we're gonna generate a mask out of the bounding box of this Heightfield. So I'm gonna drop a mask by object, and let's plug the second input into the bound. Right, so max distance not gonna help right now. What we want to do is copy a padding value that we're gonna apply on every axis, and this way we can really control well, the padding of the bounding box and generate a mask out of it. And this mask will help us to store the noise only within this red square that we're gonna blur. And so see, just by changing the padding, we are affecting the mask now, and we can blur it a little bit. So this should help us preserving the edges of this Heightfield. I'm probably gonna go something like around 200 or 150. And yeah, let's see. So we need to plug the second input, which is reserved for the mask, and now the Heightfield noise is only applied on this red square. Alright, let's tweak the blur so that we get a nice fall off toward the edges. And I usually like to work like that with flat edges and in the border so that I can mix the terrain a bit more easily with other models. So there is a tool that I made. It was a Heightfield mask border. It's pretty much doing the same thing than this little technique with the bound node and the mask by objects. So if it's more convenient for you, just use this node if you got my tools already. And yeah, let's move on. From there, what we could do is tweak a bit this noise, and we're gonna change the type to some kind of whirly noise. We could try the Manhattan. And well, this one is interesting, but was maybe thinking a whirly could be a nice start to get a mountain. So I'm gonna disable the center noise, and now we got the main shapes for some kind of mountain. Can try to offset this noise to try to find a cool pattern that we can use, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see if we increase the roughness. So increasing roughness would give you a bit more detail. I wanna start with something very simple, so I'm probably gonna leave the roughness with a pretty low value. And yeah, from there we're gonna start shaping that a bit more and add maybe another noise on top. So let's see, probably gonna change the size and also the noise type. We could play with something else too at some point. Okay, so that's pretty interesting, giving us some pretty cool results already, but we want to change that maybe to the Manhattan whirly. That's way too much. Let's see. So it's pretty interesting. It's looking pretty graphic. I think I'm pretty happy with that, and something like that could be a bit more interesting. All right, so we have this basic shape, and now it's a matter of tweaking it and adding some different levels of details and breakups. So I usually like to do a first pass of erode. I'm gonna compute the range of this guy, and let's play with the default values. Gonna disable the visualization. So the mask is not really helping us seeing what's going on, so maybe I'm just gonna clear the mask, and we already see that it's kind of looking pretty cool. Okay, let's recompute that again. Let's go in advanced, and actually I'm gonna increase the global erode rate. So this is multiplier for every control that we have in the erode, and gonna try increasing the precipitation to get more water erosion. So a lot of things going on. So we got a lot of very high frequency erosion going on. It's probably due to the precipitation and the amount of debris that we have. We might need to tweak that. So let's reset the sim and decrease the precipitation. So that can take a few attempts before getting the erode right. And let's see, right now it's like way too smooth now. We are probably eroding some of the interesting feature of our noise, and we obviously don't want that. So let's see. My guess is the debris, we should tweak the repose angle to something around 60 so that it's flowing a bit better. And we already see that it's conserving some interesting details and creating some ridges on the side. So that's pretty cool. Let's visualize that. Yeah, that would work a bit better already. Okay, I think I'm gonna move on with that. One thing we could do is freeze at the frame if you want to keep working with this cache. So from there, I'm gonna use a Heightfield distort to bring some breakup variation. And actually, you know what? I think we should rather plug it before the erode. That might actually help us getting some more interesting shapes. So I'm gonna reset the sim, and let's drop a Heightfield distort. All right, so I'm gonna tweak the element size to see what would fit the best. That's a bit too much. Ew. Let's change that, and it's looking a bit more natural already. Yeah, don't know what you think, but yeah, to me, I buy it. I buy it. I think the erode should do a pretty nice job with that. So let's see. Maybe in there we're gonna change a few things. Let's see. So repose angle, I'm gonna increase it a bit more, and max height, well, it's basically the height of the debris before it gets stuck. So increasing that to 4, and let's see. Yeah, pretty happy with that result. All right, so we're gonna store this cache, a frame of this cache. So that's gonna be frame 10, or actually let's set that to 13 since we have 13 frame. And let's move on. We're gonna keep working on the shape of this terrain. So we're gonna drop a mask by feature. So that's a pretty powerful node that allows you to create some custom mask based on different features like slope, height, occlusion. So I'm gonna create some more fall-off with this curve, and let's play with the max slope. So something more like that. Let's see. And I'm gonna use this mask to bring some distortion, actually. So that should help us create some extra breakups. Okay, let's see. Heightfield, distort. Alright, there's also a feature distort by layer, but I find it a bit too slow in my opinion. So for now I'd rather stick with just Heightfield noise. So let's try to find some proper values for this distortion. Probably something like that, and from there let's clear this mask so we can see a bit better what's going on. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I think we should still keep some smooth area though. So what we could do is break up a bit this mask with another mask by noise maybe. So what we could do, just before the distort, we're gonna plug a mask. Where is it? Mask by noise. Mask noise. Yeah, here we go. So let's display that. By default, the element size is a bit too high, so let's decrease it. And we could actually contrast this mask by increasing the gain at 1. And let's see, so we have different combining mode with the previous mask. So in our case, I want to use the multiply mode so that we still conserve the slope mask, but it's basically isolating some pieces of this mask through a noise. So let's just do that and probably increase the roughness. So that should help us bring some distortion just in some areas while we still have some kind of smooth thing going on. So I like it a little bit better. And from there we're gonna add another layer of breakups, but this time more toward the ground. To do so, we're gonna use a new mask by feature, and this time instead of using the slopes, we're gonna generate a mask based on the height. Here we go. Let's compute the range, and okay, we're gonna need to tweak a bit this curve. So I don't want to isolate the top, just like this base on the ground. That could be interesting. And I want to bring some kind of cracks in it. So there is a node, it's called pattern, I think. Yeah, Heightfield pattern. So we basically could use that. And let's see, boom, boom. So this pattern is a cell. We should probably use cell, and increasing the jitter to get some more like variation thing going on. It's pretty cool. And we're gonna reverse the height to -20, something like that. All right, so the wall feature is basically the thickness of the wall. And let's apply some extra distortion so that it looks a bit less procedural. All right, that could probably work. Yeah, it feels a bit more natural. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. We're gonna combine this pattern with our terrain. So let's plug the mask input, and by default the combining method is replace. Let's change that to add, and now we can see that we are adding this kind of crack pattern on top of the terrain. So that's pretty cool. I think that should help bringing some interesting details on the terrain. Probably gonna adjust this curve a little bit, probably decrease that, yeah, something like that. Yep, pretty happy with that. Now, in terms of height for this pattern, we may want to bring some variation in terms of intensity. So just like what we did with the slope, with the mask by noise, we're gonna do the same kind of process. And yeah, I think this place of pattern feels too uniform, so we need to break this up. Yeah, it's like checking from the top is usually a good way to see if things are broken up enough or not. So I'm just gonna copy the mask by noise that we created, and I think that should help us already. Let's see, probably gonna offset this guy so that it doesn't totally match what we have with the slope. And let's see, maybe change the element size. Right. So you have a clipping minimum, and that can be a good way if you want to introduce like a minimum value for your mask. Let's see. So probably should set the clipping minimum to something lower in that case, so that we get more contrast. Yep. Yeah, something like that. It's pretty, it's much more subtle, I think. So now we just have some cracks in some parts, and that feels a bit better in my opinion. So we could add another layer of erosion from there. So let's just maybe copy and paste the erode node that we have. We're gonna have to reset the seam, of course, and so it's gonna take a bit of time, right? Let's reset the seam and also uncheck freeze at frames, otherwise it's not gonna help. And reset seam, poof. So let's visualize the channel of this erosion. So it actually conserved all the erosion channel that we had, and we can reset them just in this layer tab and check reset sediment, debris and stuff. Well, I mostly want to reset the debris. Maybe we can still keep the water that we have. And yeah, from there, let's just play the simulation. Okay, so it's looking pretty cool already. The cracks are actually creating some pretty interesting effect, and thinking we're gonna do some extra changes, like probably add some more precipitation. So in advanced tab, let's increase that back to 0.2. And we had the debris max height. Maybe I'm gonna reduce that to 2. And reset sim. So we'll probably talk more in depth about the erode node in another tutorial, because it will take me forever to finish this tutorial otherwise. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. See that the cracks actually get filled with some debris. So I'm kinda liking this these patterns. So from there we could probably resample this terrain to upres it. So what it does, let's zoom in. So if we disable and enable, we see that there is some kind of filtering going on, and default value of the filter scale is 1.5. If we set that to 0, now no filtering is happening, but at the same time we were not changing the resolution. So let's try to double it, and now we see some artifact happening. That's why we actually need a bit of filtering to kind of try to smooth the result of this new result. And I'm pretty happy with filter scale around 1.2. And usually I also like to change the filter to box, so because just is looking a bit more sharper, I think. Yeah, see, so that's pretty cool. Could also try increasing to 3, but wouldn't make sense at this point. think I'm gonna leave it to 2, because the more you increase the resolution, the slower it's gonna be the new erode node. So I'm gonna drop a new erode node. This time I'm gonna leave everything by default and try to resim that again with this new resolution. Okay, I'm probably gonna reset some layers, like the debris, compute range, and also reset. No, let's keep the water. All right. So now that we have more voxel, that simulation should feel slower. And let's see what we got. So kind of got rid of some interesting detail we had before, but at the same time, it's kind of cleaning some of the ridges. So it's pretty tricky to say if it's really getting better. Could also like go to some previous frame, but pretty happy with that. Let's cache this result and we're gonna compare with some new ones. So I'm gonna call that erode A, and let's just save that. Gonna set to current frame and save to disk. So in case Houdini crash, at least you don't have to recompute everything again. Okay, I'm gonna copy this erode and let's reset this simulation. And let's see with these settings how it's looking. Let's press play. Can do it. Come on. All right. So before, after, gonna get some pretty cool stuff with the debris. Yep. So from there, we could actually try the Slump node. So that's a pretty interesting features of the Houdini Heightfield, and we just need to change that. We don't have any mask, so let's just set that to height. And what it's doing is like some processing some smooth, it's like smoothing the result, but it's kind of filtered by some other channel, in that case the height itself. And I like to play with the repose angle to actually help shaping this result a bit more. Like something like that, it kind of help us having something less blobby, I guess. So yeah, I'm kind of liking this this node. Now maybe the result, we would like to keep some of the initial shapes, so we could probably mix that with the file cache that we have here. So maybe we could keep some of these clean, nice shapes and mix that with this more complex result. So to do that, I'm gonna first cache this result as well. That's gonna be erode B. Okay, let's save to disk and load from disk. So now that we have that, we're gonna create a Heightfield layer. All right, Heightfield layer, yeah, here we go. So the first input will be erode A and the second would be erode B. So I'm gonna create a mask by nose and we're gonna mix those two results based on this mask. Could of course use a mask by feature if you wanna mix by height or something else. Okay, got nice contrast, and let's mix those. So if we try to see what's going on, we do have some of these nice ridges that we get with the slump, and we also keep some of the original shapes in the erode A. So if I increase clipping minimum, we just reveal the erode B, and if we put 0.5, we basically have 50% at minimum of the erode B. So that can be an interesting way to mix your different results. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, from here you pretty much have all the tools to start playing with Heightfields and have some fun with that. I think the next step would be more like using these setups and stuff to try to match to a specific type of terrain. So we'll do that in another tutorial. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you guys next time.